Everyone is entitled to appeal their parking ticket. And to be honest, if you do it quickly, you've got nothing to lose. If you believe it's wrong, don't pay it without a fight. It's important to have a good understanding of the process and to identify which kind of ticket you have. Sit back, grab a cuppa, and let's dive into the world of parking fine appeals. So, you've got a parking fine and you feel pretty confident that you shouldn't have to pay it. What next? Don't pay it. The moment you pay it, it's game over and the case is closed. Instead, you need to gather evidence to back up your claim. If signs are missing or covered, go and take plenty of photos and even videos. If you were caught up in an emergency, have you got any paperwork that you can make copies of for proof? If you broke down in the car park, make copies of breakdown paperwork. And if you took anyone's name or number to be a witness, now's the time to get their statement, in writing if possible. Now, you've got all of your paperwork. It's important to work out exactly what type of ticket you have. You need to do this for two reasons. One, you need to make sure that your appeal goes to the right place, and two, because there are different rules because only one type of parking fine is enforceable by law. Check out the timestamps below once you've defined if you have a penalty charge notice or a parking charge notice. They look nearly identical when they're stuck to your car. When you've found out which one it is, you can skip to that section of the video. We'll start with the penalty charge notices. They're given to you by officials on public land. So police, council, civil enforcement officers and highways agencies. You can't ignore it because these fines are enforceable by law. But what if you feel like a PCN has been wrongly issued? Well, you can now appeal or make a challenge. It's important to know that you should appeal as soon as you can. Why? Because when the parking fine's issued, you have the chance to pay 50% less. And it puts your parking ticket on hold. Most councils let you still pay half price, even after an informal challenge. So what are good grounds to appeal? I've got 8 good reasons that could possibly get you out of paying your PCN, depending on whether you have proof. First up, if you tried to pay but the machine was out of order, make sure you let the authorities know. They might have a record of the issue and can cancel your ticket. And if you have any evidence like photos that can back up your claim, make sure that you submit that too. Next, go through that parking ticket with a fine-tooth comb. Are all the details correct? Mistakes can be made. And if there are any errors, it could cancel your ticket. Double check the date, time, your registration, name, and address. If you parked correctly but received a ticket unfairly, don't worry. Maybe you displayed your blue badge and it wasn't noticed, or you were within a bay. These are valid reasons to appeal. Did you know there's a grace period of 10 minutes after your ticket expires to get back to your car before a ticket can be issued? If you can prove that you made it back in time, you have a legal right to appeal. If you genuinely parked in error because there were no clear signs, why not go back to the scene of the crime? Take photos of everything to show that not parking here was unclear, because this may help you appeal, or even your defence in court. When did your PCN arrive? The Secretary of State recommends that postal PCNs should be sent within 14 days of the contravention. Legislation states that postal PCNs must be sent within 28 days, unless otherwise stated in the regulations. So if it's any time after this, again, it gives you good grounds to appeal. If an emergency stopped you from getting to your car, like an accident or ending up in the hospital, then you've got a good chance of getting your appeal accepted. And finally, if your car broke down in the car park and you received a ticket, don't worry. You can chat to your breakdown recovery company to provide proof, another legitimate reason to appeal your parking ticket. At this point, you might think you're in a good position to appeal. Normally, there should be a simple online process you can follow from the issuer. If you're not tech savvy and you want to send a letter, make sure that you send copies of your evidence so that you have a copy too. Your letter must include the PCN number, your car registration number, the date the ticket was issued, a formal appeal form, and the reason why you're appealing. I've made a template which can help you write the appeal, which is below the video. If you need to submit any evidence in support of your challenge, such as photos, a copy of a valid pay and display ticket, a parking permit or blue badge, attach it online or with your letter, and make sure you quote the penalty charge notice number in all of your correspondence. If your challenge is rejected and the penalty remains unpaid, a notice to owner form will be issued, providing you with another opportunity to make representations to the council. Note that service of a bus lane PCN has the same effect as a notice to owner, to which representations can be made. Should these representations be rejected, an appeal may then be made to an independent body, the Traffic Penalty Tribunal. If you ignore or don't pay your PCN, it will be referred to the Traffic Enforcement Centre at Northampton County Court, who may authorise warrants to be issued for the recovery of the debt by bailiffs. So, it's best to pay up to avoid any extra charges. If you've lost your PCN, don't worry, just contact the issuer with your name, address and the vehicle registration details, and they'll provide you with the relevant PCN reference in an email reply. If you received a PCN for parking outside a school or in a restricted bus stop clearway and you want to see the CCTV evidence, you can easily view it on some council websites. Just enter your notice details and the digital evidence should be right there for you to see. It's important to note that bus lane PCN notifications are only issued by post. So, if you've received one and you want to view the photographic evidence, again, just enter your notice details on certain council websites to view the images. You can usually appeal a bus PCN if you are trying to avoid having an accident. Once you've sent your appeal, sit tight. The council has 56 days to respond to a formal appeal, or you win by default. If your formal appeal is unsuccessful, don't give up hope. You can make a final appeal to the independent adjudicator. Just submit the form within 30 days of its date. The best part? The independent adjudicator is appointed by the government. It's free, and you don't even have to attend in person. And guess what? 56% of people win the appeal at this stage. So, if you've come this far, it's worth pushing it that little bit further. If you've got a parking charge notice, then the rules are slightly different. These tickets are issued on private land, normally places like supermarkets or the healthcare sector. They employ operators to make sure that you abide by their car park rules. Before I get into the ins and outs, let me tell you a story which proves that it pays to challenge your ticket. A motorist in North London got slapped with a £95 fine for taking too long in a Homebase store's car park. He spent £400 in the store and stayed parked for 52 minutes over the 90-minute maximum stay. He didn't even see a sign with a time restriction, and when he explained the situation to the store, they refused to cancel the fine. But here's the thing. Tickets issued by private firms are unenforceable, and in this case, the Homebase store eventually agreed to waive the charge after a little bit of intervention. However, they stated that the relevant manager will use their discretion in each complaint, so it's not a guarantee. It's wrong that private companies can charge excessive amounts for a few minutes of parking, especially when you're spending money in their stores. Know that they're not actually fines, but simply a company trying to use contract law to impose an additional charge. Often, they have no right to do so, and there's no basis in law for it. So don't just pay up straight away. If you think you've been treated unfairly, fight it. So now you can see why it's a good idea to appeal. Let's run through the steps that you should take. So first, check that all the details on the ticket are correct. If there's something wrong, that will help you appeal. File an appeal with the car park management company. Their contact details should be on your parking ticket. Make sure to check if the operator is a member of the ATA. If they're not, don't contact them until they get in touch with you. Only ATA members can get your details from the DVLA. So how do you check if an operator is an ATA member? Well, you can search online via the British Parking Association, that's a BPA, or International Parking Community, IPC websites. And if a non-member does get hold of your details, you should respond to them. But chances are they got your name and address illegally. In that case, you can file a complaint with the DVLA. Write to the operator and provide valid reasons for objecting to the fine. Make sure to provide all of your evidence to support your appeal. Unfortunately, there's no formal appeals process if the operator isn't a member of the ATA. So, can you just ignore the parking ticket? No, it's never a good idea to ignore a fine from a private company, even though it's not immediately enforceable. The operator may decide to take it to court, and if you don't attend a hearing, a county court judgment is registered on your credit file. I'll talk about that in more detail later. Let's get on to valid excuses for appealing a parking ticket. Automatic number plate recognition systems, ANPR for short, are known for making mistakes. Can you see your reg? Is it your car? Other reasons to appeal include a medical emergency preventing you from returning to your vehicle. Being a few minutes late getting back to your vehicle falls under the 10-minute grace period rule. Your vehicle breaking down and having to wait for a recovery truck. Maybe the parking ticket arrived in the post over 14 days after the infringement happened. Were the signs and road markings faded or unclear? If you weren't the driver at the time the ticket was issued, especially if the car was stolen, the pay and display machine was broken, meaning there was no way to pay. You may have parked up correctly and paid the right fee, or the parking ticket was incorrectly issued. If you need to write an appeal letter, make sure that you include the ticket number, your vehicle registration number, the date the parking ticket was issued, a formal appeal form with your letter of appeal, and the reason why you're appealing the parking ticket. Is there an early payment discount? Yes, there normally is. There is an early payment discount whether you receive a penalty charge notice or a parking charge notice. If you pay a parking charge notice within 14 days, you pay between 40% and 60% of the fine. One last thing to note is that a car park management company must respond within 56 days once they receive your appeal. Might be worth sending it registered post. If they fail to respond within this deadline, you win the appeal. What if your appeal is rejected? If the operator is a member of the IPC, you'll need to make a formal appeal to the Independent Appeals Service. If the operator is a member of the BPA, the appeal must be sent to Parking on Private Land Appeals, POPLA. Make sure to provide supporting evidence or your appeal will be rejected. One thing I would really like to stress is that it's really important not to ignore a parking ticket. If you ignore a parking charge notice, the fine could increase and the parking company may ask a judge to issue a county court judgment, that's a CCJ, against you, which forces you to pay. And if you continue to ignore the CCJ, the parking company may be given permission to use debt enforcement actions such as bailiffs, property charging orders, or even applied to take the debt from your wages. So what if the parking company sells a debt to a debt collector? This could happen if they've been unsuccessful at recovering payments. The debt collector will then chase you for payment to make a profit or threaten further legal action. But be aware of fake parking ticket scams. Always check them out online and you'll never get a parking ticket through an email. If you don't acknowledge a CCJ and continue to avoid paying, the parking ticket company can ask the courts to allow debt enforcement, which may involve the use of bailiffs. Bailiffs can only be used to recover the parking ticket debt after a CCJ has been issued and you still haven't paid. They will send a notice of enforcement letter to request payment or to get in touch and discuss a payment plan. If you don't engage with the bailiffs, they will visit your home to try and recover payment. But don't worry, they can't physically harm you or break into your locked home. It's essential that you have an updated address with the DVLA. If your private parking tickets are sent to the wrong address, you may be taken to court without actually knowing. A CCJ makes you legally responsible to pay the debt or to make an arrangement with the parking company to pay in an affordable way. If you pay the CCJ debt, it'll improve your credit score, but it won't make an equal improvement straight away. When a CCJ has been added to your credit file, it can reduce your score by as much as 250 points, making it more difficult to get approved for loans, mortgages, and other credit in the future. Engage with the parking company quickly if you want to appeal against a parking ticket. It's better to deal with it sooner rather than later to avoid any serious consequences. Do you know there's a 28-year-old woman who ripped up more than 200 parking charge notices from her car in Scotland, and she was ordered to pay a huge £24,500 in court. Obviously, this is an extreme case, but you can see how it can get out of hand if you ignore your ticket. If you think your parking fine is unjust, then appeal as soon as you can with as much evidence as you possibly can give. If you think that your parking ticket was justified, your appeal won't be successful and you're to blame, then pay as soon as you can to get the discounted rate. If you're still wrestling with a decision, then it might help to speak to an online solicitor like Just Answer. They do a trial for £5 and you can ask any questions you need, so it might save you a lot of time and, depending on the outcome, a lot of money too. It's really easy. Just tell them what happened in the chat and they'll give you a professional opinion about appealing your parking ticket. There's a link below the video, and if you use it, you'll be supporting Thrifty Family, so thank you.